Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Friday. It is Friday. It is Friday the 13th. How about that? Friday, January 13th. Hope everybody is doing well in the world out there tonight. Welcome to studentloanjustice.org. If you are new to the group, welcome. We're so glad that you found us. Pardon the piano playing behind me. It's something we try to do to keep things slightly interesting in the very painful world of student loan injustice, I should say. So we are Student Loan Justice. We've been around for 18 years now. We've done a lot of things. We've seen a lot of things. We've learned a lot of things. We are normal people fighting for other normal people. We don't have secret deals, secret handshakes. We're not trying to sell you anything. This is a working, fighting group. So if you joined our group, we're glad that you did, but please know that there's an obligation in joining this group, which means that you have to help. You have to help us fight, because the one thing, we've learned many things over the years. The most important thing that we learned is that when everybody sits there and eats popcorn and reads Forbes magazine and, NPR and sits there and does nothing and waits and watch and worries and says, I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder what they're going to do. I wonder what's going to happen. That's when we lose. That's when we are wrecked. When people get off their asses, like people in this group did to get our petition rolling, calling for student loan cancellation, way before any of the politicos were even dreaming about canceling student loans by executive order. Very good things happen when people actually help us fight. And here we are, nearly 3 years after starting our petition calling for student loan cancellation by executive order. We launched that whole concept into the zeitgeist. And we can now say, to our great credit, that a sitting president has indeed announced a student loan cancellation by executive order. That all started here. You have a lot to be proud of. But another thing that you should know about this group, if you're new, we are honest. And I have to tell you that, honestly, the student loan cancellation we saw from Joe Biden is crap, with a capital C. It was never really very impressive in the first place. Frankly, I think it was designed to fail. It's crap. So I could also brag about how it was this group that caused the Department of Education to stop opposing student loan borrowers in bankruptcy court. And that's true. But again, the thing that we saw the Department of Education do about bankruptcy, like they didn't really stop opposing us. All they did was took that whole process and stole it from the courts and put it in the bureaucratic bowels of the Department of Education and the Department of Justice. So while on paper, this group can claim magnificent accomplishments, remarkable achievements over the past year is when both of those things happened. We're not going to do that because those two things are crap. Much more is needed, guys. The most important maybe news item that I have for you tonight, we were betrayed big time last congressional session by Congress. And quite frankly, when I say Congress, I mean the Democrats. And I hate to say that. We're a fiercely nonpartisan group, so we pretty much hate both parties at this point. But so if you're a Democrat or Republican or anywhere in between or outside of those lines, you are very welcome here in this group, and we're glad that you are here. And I hope that you will tell everyone you know with student loans to come find us. That's maybe the most important thing I'll say tonight. But having said that, it was the Democrats who had a long-standing promise to return bankruptcy protections to student loans. It was the Democrats that, until January 1 or 3rd, I guess, controlled the House, the Senate, and the presidency. So the Democrats have been promising to return bankruptcy protections to student loans for many, many years. And the most important policy point I have for you, particularly if you're new, whether you would ever or never file for bankruptcy, having the threat of bankruptcy returned to us, having the leverage of bankruptcy returned to us, lies at the core of this problem. We will not see Joe Biden or anyone do anything good, certainly not the Department of Education. We will not see them do anything good unless and until we get the constitutionally enshrined right of bankruptcy returned to us. So we've got a lot of work to do, guys. It's going to be a very tough congressional session this time. And quite frankly, at this point, we're not making any plans. We're still waiting for the dust to settle as the new Congress gets sat and comfortable in their offices in Washington, D.C., as we see the opening moves on this chessboard in this congressional session come out. One thing I can tell you guys is that we're going to have to be pushing on Republicans very hard. To that end, I'm very happy to report that our member, our fearless California, I don't know if she's our state chapter leader, but she's certainly the strongest member, certainly one of the strongest members we have in California. Vanjie was able to get a call in to C-SPAN this morning, as we have been doing a lot lately, particularly before the new year elapsed. But anyways, Vanjie was able to get on with a really terrible guy who calls himself a conservative, Grover Norquist. And we've got a hard on for that guy for some reason. Pardon my French. Grover's a guy who says that he's championing smaller government, but then in the very same breath, Grover Norquist is fighting tooth and nail for the worst big government loan scam, which is the federal student loan program, in U.S. history. So Grover is one of those guys that was suing or filing lawsuits trying to get the loans turned back on. He also is a vehement opposer, critic of student loan cancellation. So Vanjie got a great call in on C-SPAN today, and she let him have it. And he had no response for her, by the way. He pretended that she never asked the question that she asked, which was like, hey, Grover, you always the thing Grover Norquist is famous for is saying, government should be small enough that if you had to, you could take it to the bath and drown it in the tub. Well, what happened with the federal student loan program, Grover? Grover Norquist is one of those fake beltway conservatives. I don't know, maybe the MAGA people would call him a rhino, right? Republican name only. But shame on Grover and good on Vanjie for getting that call in. By the way, we're asking all of our members to wake up at least one morning in the next month and get your own call into C-SPAN. As corny as that sounds, it actually helps. Like in the month of December, we probably got somewhere around 25 calls into C-SPAN. And while I don't have any great results to show for it, I can tell you that it really did change things, because believe it or not, members of Congress, probably even Supreme Court judges, certainly their staffers, they watch C-SPAN. And there's no easier way really to get a point across in a forum where the decision makers actually hear what you say. And I don't know, I just think it's cool. So good on Vanjie, and I hope everybody out there will make it your mission to get your own call in for student loan justice to C-SPAN once a month. They let you get calls in once a month. So hey guys, I'm just kind of spitballing here tonight. I'm going to keep it short, but I'm going to go to your comments now. So if you're watching us on Facebook or Twitter, I'd love to hear from you. By the way, if you're new to the group and you've never made a comment on any of our live streams before, and indeed you are watching us on Facebook or Twitter, throw your comments out. I'm very happy to entertain them. I know a lot of people, particularly those who are new to the group, they don't know a lot about student loans other than the fact that they have them and they suck. So, we're kind of good for that. If you have any questions, or maybe you don't even know what you don't know, we're very happy we live and breathe this stuff, and we have for the past 18 years. So generally we can answer any and all questions. There are no stupid questions, by the way, guys. There are no stupid questions. There is only a very stupidly complex and mind-numbingly failed federal student loan program. Private student loans also are terrible, so But there are no dumb questions, so don't be shy about stepping up and speaking out and asking questions if you should have them. And I can't always see your comments, but I'm hoping that I will be able to see your comments here now tonight. A couple other announcements. I have to say this first, guys. If you could please donate, please do it, dudes. We survive and thrive only on very nominal personal gifts, like donations from financially distressed student loan borrowers. And I can tell you, it ain't much. We can survive and thrive and fight and win this battle, but we can't do it on nothing. Unfortunately, we've got to at least be able to pay our utility bill, which is currently pending, and stuff like that. So if you appreciate the work that we do, and particularly all the results that we've gotten, I think you agree that we've achieved a very large bang for the buck. And please help. I really suck at fundraising, in case you didn't notice. Probably I'm worse at fundraising than I am at piano playing. So just please help so that I can shut up. One other quick announcement. I should say our film, which includes us and our members and so forth, we are featured not tonight, Sunday night on MSNBC. Again, we're a fiercely nonpartisan group, guys. I feel like I have to say that as a disclaimer whenever I mention MSNBC. But no. MSNBC is showing our documentary. It's called Lone Wolves. It is a groundbreaking. It is the most significant documentary probably ever to be made about student loans, certainly since about 2009. It drills down on the very important question of how did bankruptcy get taken away from student loans? Like, who did that? So check it out. I don't know exactly what time it's going to be on. And fundraising, in case I don't know exactly what time. Probably I'm worse at fundraising than I am. So exactly what time it's going to be. Shut up. I don't know exactly what time it's going to be on Sunday night. I think it might be like around 10 p.m. Eastern time. I could be wrong though. But it's a big deal for us, and you'll see that we play a very key role in the film, which is good. So tell everyone. And by the way, it's a very funny film. It's a very watchable film, as watchable as anything about student loans can possibly be. This film is like, it's watchable. It's funny. The filmmaker Blake Zeff puts huge amount of humor in it. There's been some recent criticism about how he probably doesn't point the finger as much as he should at President Biden, Joseph R. Biden, and the role that he had in taking bankruptcy away from student loans. But whatever. It's a very strong film, and everybody with student loans should watch it. And so, yes, MSNBC on Sunday night. Please check it out. Hey, Terry Dawes with us tonight. Hey, Terry, what's going on, man? Terry says, happy Friday, SLJ Warriors. Not that it's going to make a difference, but I dropped a comment to the Department of Education about their soon-to-be failed reboot of the income-based repayment program. I hope they felt the wrath in my words. Good point, Terry. I was going to mention that, but I think I was not going to, because I kind of had forgotten about it at this point in the live stream. Thank you for mentioning that, Terry. So yeah, guys, the Department of Education is accepting comments right now about the revised pay-as-you-earn dead dog of a income-driven repayment program. I'm not even going to talk about the actual announcement and the T's, dotting the I's and crossing the T's of the proposal itself, other than to say the top line looks good, but none of that matters, guys. All income-driven repayment programs are cruel jokes, and 30 years of history informs us very well on that. Income-driven repayment programs have been around since 1995, and we can now say that the cumulative success rate of these programs to date is less than 1%. So of 100 people that try for, say, income contingent repayment, as of today, what's that, 28 years later, like the last I checked, fewer than 32 people. Like you could fit 32 people in my cramped little living room here in Rhinelander, Wisconsin. And that's out of probably well over 1 million people that tried for the program. So no income-driven repayment program is worth the paper it is written on, ladies and gentlemen. All the IDRs, including the one that the Biden administration rolled out the other day, are tricks. They are cruel jokes. They are just another attempt at by the Department of Education to keep this unconstitutional loan scam, and it is a scam, rolling down the block for yet another week or two. It's disgusting what they're doing. As long as the constitutionally enshrined leverage / threat of bankruptcy remains gone from us uniquely, like student loans are the only type of loan in our nation's history to be uniquely stripped of bankruptcy rights. Until that changes and until we have the threat of bankruptcy back on our side, no IDR, no matter how well-intentioned or no matter what the top line selling points of it are, none of them are trustworthy whatsoever. The Department of Education has demonstrated very strongly and clearly over many years that the culture of that institution is corrupted, based in greed and fraud and deceit and omissions, and that the Department of Education has never had, does not now have, and unless and until bankruptcy is returned, they will never have any desires or intentions of actually canceling any student loan debt. They will only do it kicking and screaming, probably under court order. So good for you, Terry. And by the way, you can register your own comments. If you look up or down on this Facebook group or on our Twitter page, you can see a link to go to ed.gov. I think it is something. You can register your own comments. Please do that and make them feel your pain. You know, we've got a lot of people in this group whose lives have just been absolutely wrecked for years and decades by these loans. And we don't have to put up with this shit, ladies and gentlemen. We just don't. We're the American people. And our Constitution collectively trumps the will of the unelected bureaucrats, the lawyers, the investors, and all of our opposition in the student loan swamp. Those people, you know, the key players in the student loan swamp could probably also fit in my cramped little frozen living room in northern Wisconsin. We're not talking about a whole lot of people here, guys. Okay, it's probably more than 32 people. It's probably maybe 1,000 people who are fighting tooth and nail to keep this loan scam going. But I like those odds, ladies and gentlemen. The last I checked, I think it's higher since I did check. But as of a couple of years ago, 85% of all federal student loan borrowers were never going to be able to repay their loans. Nearly 60% of all borrowers had stopped paying on their loans. And this is even before COVID, like before the pandemic. So this is something like 38 million people who are losing sleep over their federal student loan debt. And if you count private loans, we're talking about 4 million people and their families. We're not even counting them, who are on our side, whether they know it or not. And they will never know it unless you tell them, by the way. Word of mouth is really the only and best tool that we have to recruit people to come into our group. Here's some encouragement for you. If you know 5 people with student loans, 4 of them were never going to be able to repay their student loans, even before the pandemic. And they need to find us. They need to be fighting with us. We cannot carry their weight for them. They got to pull their own weight. Because as I told you, this is not a wait, watch, and worry group. This is not a spectator sport here. This is not, eat popcorn and watch Al and Terry and Leslie and Joanna do all the heavy lifting. No. You got to put your own work in on this block. And the more people who are here helping us, the quicker we will get this stupid, easy problem to solved. It's just as simple as that, guys. And as last congressional session shows, we were close. We were very close to getting our bills passed, but we don't have quite enough muscle right now to get it done. There's no good reason for that. So please tell everyone you know with student loans about this group. Here's another really interesting fact. If you go to a bar and there's 20 people in that bar, the odds are, all adults, the odds are 5 of those people have student loans. And of those 5, 4 of them were never going to be able to repay their loans. So you may not find them talking about their student loans over a game of pool and a drink and stuff, but that's what the statistics would predict. So we have allies everywhere. You can't throw a rock in a crowd of people and not hit. Well, you'd have to throw like 20 rocks. If you threw 20 rocks into a crowd of people, adults, 5 of them would hit somebody with student loans, and 4 of those would be people who were never going to be able to repay their loans. So I think you get my point. Our friends, allies, and potential members are everywhere, but we have to find them, and they need to come here and help us fight, because clearly we don't have enough people yet here fighting for us. And so, we have over 1 million people in this group, guys, at least on paper. And where they are, I don't know. We have over 1 million people on our petition. We've got a couple 100,000 people across our Facebook platform, our Instagram, our Twitter, our email platform, etc. But I'm just telling you guys, we need way more people. Not just signing a petition. We need those people who signed the petition to do a little bit more than just sign a petition. Laziness gets you nowhere, and we found that out the very hard way last congressional session. So, to everybody who has been doing the work, which is not particularly pleasant, but it's not that hard either. It's not hard at all, actually. We salute you. We accomplished tremendous things last year, and you all have a lot to be proud of. We are the veterans. We are the pioneers in this movement. We are the pioneers in this struggle. And there's a lot riding on this fight, guys, because remember, if they can do to other loans what they've done to student loans, and they will if we let them, they will make bankruptcy similarly non-dischargeable for all consumer debt. And they will turn credit cards and medical debt and you name it. They will turn all those things into the same weaponized scam that student loans have become. John Adams, one of the founding fathers, said there's 2 ways to conquer and enslave a country. One is by the sword. The other is by debt. And that second thing is the gun barrel down which we are currently looking, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot riding on this fight that goes well beyond student loans. So you should be proud to be fighting with us. We're going to need you more than ever this coming year. It's going to be tough. Like last congressional session was our best shot. We had the Democrats who, at least on paper, were promising to return bankruptcy to student loans. This session, we have a gridlock Congress. So we got to have a few Republicans on our side. And I think there's some good news on that point, by the way, on that front. We've seen Republicans step up, and very notable Republicans like Matt Gaetz from Florida. Love him or hate him. Again, like I said, guys, we're a fiercely nonpartisan group. So Whatever you may think about politicians' politics, based on your own political leanings, really doesn't matter on this group, guys. We've got to push everyone, Democrats, Republicans alike. But we've seen some very significant movement from the Republicans over the past few months. I'd say over the past year, quite frankly. And let me just crystallize one final thing, particularly for the people who are new in the group. The point of fighting for bankruptcy isn't so that everybody will run out and file. Very few people should actually have to file for bankruptcy. In other words, maybe even no one will actually have to file for bankruptcy when we get the right returned. That's not the point. The point is that we, the people, get the constitutionally enshrined leverage of bankruptcy returned. Until we have the threat of bankruptcy in our back pocket, we are not going to see anything good. Not from the Democrats, not from the Republicans, not from Joe Biden, not from Donald Trump, not for whoever the next president may be. We've got to have the leverage of bankruptcy return. And as unpleasant as it may seem to fight for, it is the strongest argument, the strongest political argument out there that I can see. Frankly, I feel privileged to be making this argument because it's so supremely strong. Everywhere we go, nobody with a name and a face, I'm not talking about anonymous Twitter trolls, nobody with a name and a face will have the chutzpah to stand up and publicly try and argue against the return of bankruptcy to student loans. But for the bad politics in this country, but for the swamp creatures in Washington, D.C. that are scurrying around like rats and undermining us everywhere we go, but for those bad elements and the bad politics in this country that's resulted, we would have gotten this done decades ago. I mean, really, if you think about the greatest student loan injustice, it's the fact that we, this group, the people in this group, have to stand up and fight for the right to do something as unpleasant as going before a bankruptcy judge. Like, think about that. We shouldn't have to, we shouldn't even be here. In the immortal words of the fat guy in the opening scenes of the Shawshank Redemption, I shouldn't even be here. But, you know, we try to have a sense of humor on this group. And here we are, guys. It is what it is. We've got to fight this fight. It's a fight easily won. I hope that you were encouraged by all that we got done last year. I hope that you are chomping at the bit to get ready to fight this year. And all I can say, guys, is we'll see how the dust settles. We will have a very clear strategic action plan soon. In the meantime, follow us on Twitter. It's a very helpful thing. I hate Twitter. Everybody hates Twitter. Get a Twitter account. Follow us on it. I wish we would have started our Twitter account more than a year ago, quite frankly. But anyways, it is what it is. But get ready to fight, guys. We are going to need you more than ever in the coming year. So I think with that, I'm going to wish everybody a great weekend. Oh, a couple other comments here. Matthew Kern says, please get your calls in, members, please. We can and need to change the tide of the battle. Exactly, Joanna. We've got a freaking army. If you know, even with 1.4 million members, if all of our members were actually fighting, I think that's a bigger standing army than most countries. In fact, I don't know how big the United States standing army is. I don't think it's much more than 1 million soldiers. I think it's like maybe 1.5 million. So we probably, if all of our members were actually fighting, we would have a bigger standing army, maybe not quite bigger than the United States, but I think bigger than like Russia and probably not China. A bigger army than I would say a bigger country than, or a bigger army than most countries on this planet. So we've got a huge muscle flex, ladies and gentlemen. All that it requires is us flexing the muscle, which means you helping. Nobody else is going to pull your weight for you. This past congressional session proved that in spades. So good point, Joanna. So Nicholas Linky says, but wait, throw the rocks at the opposers to us. Yeah, for sure. If I take your point correctly, The opposition is a mile wide and a millimeter deep, ladies and gentlemen. Every single argument that our opposition throws against us, student loans will benefit the wealthy, taxpayer dollars shouldn't be used to pay for kids' college, all canceling student loans will cause inflation. All of those things are false, like demonstrably, provably false. And they are very easily dispatched. But you got to show up and fight. And maybe one of the last things I'll say is, if you are new to the group, it would be very helpful for you and for us, for you to go to our Medium channel and simply go there and just read the most recent 7-8 articles that are posted there. When you read, and they're easy to read, easy to understand. Take your time, enjoy them. If you read and understand 5 or 6 or 7 of those articles, you will be a very fine, fit, fierce, fearless, and feared student loan justice warrior. You'll know pretty much what I know, and you will be able to easily swat down all of our opposition's lame, laughably stupid, easily dispatched arguments. So do that. It will help, and we need you, and the country needs you. And as strange as it may sound, hundreds of millions of people who are going to follow in our footsteps and maybe aren't even born yet, they need you. This is an historic struggle that we're engaged in, ladies and gentlemen, and that's I know that sounds overly dramatic, and it is profound, but it is true. So this is the group right here. This group is the only group that I know of that's actually fighting this fight as it needs to be fought. So I hope that at least a few people, something that I said sunk in to you tonight. I will be back on Sunday. Stay tuned, guys. We're going to need you more than ever going forward. So I'll see you guys on Sunday. Have a happy Friday. Stay out of trouble. I know it's like Friday 13th today, so whatever. But I'll be back on Sunday, and I just wish you all good luck, Godspeed, and God bless.